Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and today we are taking a look at Virpil's new Cadet VMAX Throttle. This is more of the budget-friendly version of the big brother, the CM3 that they have, that you're going to find is quite the bang for the buck, in my opinion. Stick around to find out why. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkill's tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, or simply interested in supporting the channel, please consider joining us on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future releases that come down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below.
Overkill simulations, watch us as we fly. Overkill simulations, a thrill will never die in the wild.
All right, you guys. So as I said, welcome back. This is the new VMAX Cadet VMAX Throttle from Virpil. Now, what this essentially is this is the little brother to the CM3. The CM3 is a much larger throttle, has button switches, rotaries, and stuff like that on it. This is much more basic. However, this has some benefits that the CM3 doesn't have, and vice versa. It really depends on what you're going for. This is very much so a generalized throttle, not particularly what's the word? I'm like aimed at any particular type of simulation. But let's talk about the pros right out of the gate. The pros are all of the internal hardware inside is the exact same as what you would find in the CM3. Now, guys, I'm gonna give you guys price points right now. This thing comes in at $250 US. The Big Brother CM3 comes in at $400 US. So there's a massive price difference there. But obviously some feature loss there as well. So first off, as many other reviewers have pointed out with this as well, the first thing that I noticed right away as I was configuring this for DCS World was the lack of speed brake, ease of configurability, if you will. It's not that you can't configure the speed brake to it, but it definitely doesn't have the easy three-way position switch. So normally with a speed brake, you would have a rear momentary, a center for off, and a forward locked position. And that's because a lot of speed brakes can take anywhere from 3 to 5 seconds to actually pull it back down. So that's the first con that I have. The other one that comes right out of the gate, this guy is very loose. However, what I have found is using this for like my master lights and things like that worked really, really well. It is not wiggly. Do not mistake that for cheap or feeling like you're going to break it. Like I'm really having to pull on that to shake that loose. It just moves very easily, but it has a nice center detent. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it locks into place very, very nicely. So the center detent makes it very easy to use. Now, speaking of detents, let's move into the throttle itself. Coming downstairs here, it has multiple detent positions that can be adjusted just like we did with the CM3 with an Allen key. Simply rotate it, position the detent where you want. However, what I don't like is you guys can see it has an idle and off position here on it for the detent. The way that the, I can't remember what these are called, but basically the way the detent locks work though is a little finicky. So that's the idle position, but it doesn't take much to pull it out of the idle position. It's just a slight push through. It's very, very light. So the problem with the idle there is if you are not super careful, you will absolutely, and you actually bind this to cutoff, which you would do inside the Virpil software, you can very easily put that into the full reverse or full aft position and cut off your engines if you're setting that up like that. So I don't really like the detent for the idle position. I wish it was a bit higher. I wish it had a lift configuration. I think that would have made that a lot easier, but again, loss of feature is going to equal the price, right? So there is some balance there. Now, again, all of the internal components, all the cams, stuff like that in it are metal. So you don't have to worry about any kind of stiction or anything like that. Also with these, with the Virpil quality, you get a full, nice, smooth range of motion that is absolutely flawless all the way through the axis. Now, the afterburner detent is nice. It is still a little on the loose side, but if depending on what you're doing, I mean, if you're in a high G situation or high intensity situation, you're probably going to be pushing it forward anyway. You're not going to be worrying about, you know, establishing your mill power first, finding that afterburner, and then pushing it through. You're just going to be driving it forward. So that wasn't a real kicker to me. As far as the separation of the throttles, this action is so smooth. I actually like this a little bit better than the CM3 just because of how silent and easily it moves through the axis. Or the range, I should say. Now, again, it's the same thing with the CM3. The CM3 works very, very well, but this one just, I don't know, there's something about this particular type of switch that just feels a little bit better. The overall grip of the throttle is extremely nice. I separated those, didn't I? Yes, I did. It feels very, very comfortable. Now, guys, I have very large hands if you guys take a look at the comparison, okay? So this is really, really nice. I can reach everything very, very easily. Let me try to rotate that without breaking my wrist. And you guys can see I can reach everything very comfortably. Button options and configuration is very, very nice. Now, there are a couple catches here. These two hat switches, the Castle hats, they have a slight slag in the motion before you actually reach the button. So, for example, it moves, but then that's the actual click. So moved, click, moved, click. Now, my understanding is that that is actually going to be changed with the release version of this throttle. So chances are you guys probably won't see this on yours. You have buttons everywhere. These are very, very nice. What I ended up doing, for example, my speed brakes is I just used one of these hat switches. It still worked just fine, and I just have to remember to hold it. Now, in DCS, you can set it to where you can just click it, and it will set the speed brake to the off position. I have found ways around that in multiple aircraft, so it's not a game breaker. The thumb hat is a little weird because when you're in the forward range of motion, up is not up, but you can feel it. So aft is here, forward is sort of at a down angle, and then the up is sort of like this. But you can feel it in the hat itself. So again, not a deal breaker. This was very nice for using for like your radar elevation. I found that to be very, very easy to use, very easy to manipulate. So you have buttons everywhere. I normally use this, for example, in my Hornet as my ATC, my auto throttle control. And then again, I found myself using things like this for light control, brightness, and then your master switch on the push. So who would I recommend this for? This is for someone who is either A, you've already got a ton of buttons, tons of switches everywhere, and you just want a really nice throttle. You don't need all the jazz that comes with like the CM3. And I'm going to show you guys the CM3 on the screen here in just a minute. But you guys, actually, I'll probably just bring mine and bring it in here so you guys can see it in just a second. We'll compare the two sizes and compare the features. But the really nice thing about this is you get all of the quality that Virpil offers. Again, the range of motion, the comfort, the anti-sweat grip, which, believe it or not, yes, if you're like me, you get sweaty hands, especially in, again, those high-intensity situations where you're about to get shot down. Okay, ton of configuration options on the throttle itself. Like I said, I think the only thing that I wish that they had added is a boat switch of some sort or an actual speed brake switch. I think that would have made a huge difference. You still have your USB and auxiliary ports. For those of you who don't know, the auxiliary port is used. That's this guy here. I know it doesn't look like it's showing up real well on the camera there, but here, we'll bring it up. There it is, AUX and USB. The auxiliary port is like if you want to hook up one of your combat panels to it. You can save yourself a USB port by going directly into the aux position, and we'll talk about that in one of the later videos that's coming. We'll talk about that in a minute where I review all of their combat panels or control panels. So configuration, super simple. If you guys need to use the Virpil software, check out my CM3 video. I went into quite a bit of detail. It is not the most user-friendly unless you are someone who is familiar with coding and used to seeing that kind of software or programming. But this is a fantastic, budget-friendly, high-quality throttle. And that's the kicker that I want to throw out. High quality, guys. Again, having full metal components, having individual tension adjustment. That's what these little guys are right here. So these are Allen keys here, here, and here. You just simply take your Allen key, you turn it, and you can adjust the throttle. And even at max tension, you guys, so I'm going to show you guys how the rubber feet work. I'm going to do my best to sort of, that's a full slam throw forward, okay? You guys can see how little the feet are moving, okay? If you really push in and then drag it, I mean, you guys can see what I'm doing to the back end here, right? So the feet work really, really nice on just about any surface, both metal and wood. I haven't had any issue with it. We're going to talk about what I've been doing the last couple of days and why I've been radio silent. But this is a fantastic, I would almost call this entry level into the non-entry level equipment, if that makes sense. Virpil is definitely what I'd call high tier. All right, so as we're talking about the higher tiers, I figured this was a good time to bring in my CM3. Now, it's a little dirty right now because it's been in and out of the garage because the cockpit that I have is under construction and we are redesigning all kinds of stuff. So, but here's the CM3. So you guys can see that there, if we were to compare the throttles and throttle positions here, you guys can see sort of the difference. The CM3 has quite a bit more to it. It still doesn't have that speed brake switch that we were talking about, but it does have a few other options that definitely help the situation out. So, but you can see the basic design is the same. Now the difference is like the CM3 with its tension, you actually can do it from inside it with a actual wrench. Okay, so if anything, they did do quite a bit of justice by putting the tensioners up on top of this one. So that was a nice change in comparison to the CM3. CM3, you're also going to have the different modes, right? So what this allows you to do is inside of the Virpil software is on mode 1, all of the buttons do one thing. Switch it over to mode 2, and all of the buttons can do something completely different. So for example, if you had a, I don't know, let's say this was your only control. What I used to do with Thrustmaster long ago when I used their target software when I first got into this was, an example would be, this would be startup. Okay, so everything would be, you know, engine crank, you know, battery, whatever. And then 2 would be, you know, combat, right? Instead of engine crank, this would be master arm or something like that, right? You guys get the gist. So each one of these modes can change everything that this does. Also, like I said, inside the Virpil software, you have the ability to set buttons based on axis position. You can do that with this one as well inside the Virpil software. Now, where this one shines is, as we talked about before, is you actually have true finger lifts. So there's the detent locked into position, lift up, come down. So you don't get that with this, but that is one of the advantages of CM3. So the CM3 can do quite a bit more, has a bit more configuration options. Their new the VMAX that's coming out, that's the replacement of this guy. I hope I get my hands on because it looks absolutely fantastic. But anyway, so I wanted to show you guys that comparison, show you guys the difference between the two and what the real bang for the buck is. And where the real bang comes in, you guys, is inside here. It's in the component. It's in the construction. It's in the design. The quality of the range of motion, the quality of the configuration options, the tensioners, the smoothness of the action, and all of the configuration and comfort that is available in these throttles. So honestly, either one is a great purchase. This is definitely great if you don't need all the buttons and features that were on the CM3 and you just need a nice, good, dependable throttle with plenty of configuration options on its own, with tension abilities on its own, and the detents if you guys choose to use those. Just remember, they are all push-through detents. A push-through detent, as you guys can see, is exactly what it sounds like. You push through the detents, okay? Where the CM3, which you guys saw with the finger lifts, was a hard stop detent. Okay, it actually stops the throttle in its place. So I hope you guys have found this video useful. I swear by my Virpil products, you guys. They are absolutely fantastic. They are always very, very comfortable. They're very reliable. I've had my CM3, both the throttle and the base, as well as the Mongoose 2 flight stick, for over a year now. Have had absolutely zero issues with them. They maintain their high precision that comes with them. They're just fantastic and high quality products that I really recommend you guys check out. So again, guys, this is the VPC, the Virpil Controls Cadet VMAX Throttle, $249.95 US from Virpil USA. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, stay safe and healthy, guys. Watch for the next ones as we go through their control panels. I think you guys are really going to like the new cockpit that we've designed. I've had it in the garage all week long. We've had the welder out, grinders out, cutting discs out, new metal, really trying to pull something fun together. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Stay safe and healthy, guys. I'll see you in the next one.